When it came time to say, hey, you have to choose one, you in your mind, it's something like, what do you want to eat for the rest of your life? Singapore chicken rice or Swiss cheese fondue? And the choice seemed pretty obvious to me.
I think we met in my office when you were, barely 14 or so. And, he blew me away. I think there was something about him that really struck me. And so I went back and I thought about it and said, look, how do we support this boy better?
In Singapore, they really accepted him and they complimented what he needed from their fantastic platform that they have here.
Before that, he was just really one person representing a team, representing a place, a country, and there was very little community. Now he has a whole village.
I first came to know of Max or about Max because of his aunt, actually. His aunt and I were law school classmates years ago, decades ago. And so she told me about him and said, my nephew is a champion kite foiler and I should meet with him. But in the case of Max, the name kept coming up. And I spoke to the NSA, I talked to Dr. Ben Tan and various other people, and he was constantly in the radar. So I then put a call through to my classmate and said, can I meet with Max and his mom? And I think we met in my office when you were, barely 14 or so that year, 2021.
Yeah.
You would have been 14.
Yeah.
And he blew me away. He was such a measured young boy, very mature, spoke about his sport in a very convincing way. I think if you remember, you told me about trigonometry. and wind direction and so on.
Well, I mean, he asked a technical question. I couldn't help myself.
Yeah, but coming from a 14-year-old boy who was very focused on his sport, I think there was something about him that really struck me. And so I went back and I thought about it and said, look, how do we support this boy better? So we put together a team of sports scientists. We put him on the SPEC scholarship later that year, I think 2021 or 2022. So I sat down with him and his mom and said, look, can we work through some private corporate sponsorship as well? We have to work cohesively and collectively as a system. And I think that's the case for Max. I mean, he had tremendous family support, both his father and his mother. And I think the broader ecosystem that he had around him was really necessary when he was much younger. And along the way, as that happens and you see potential come through, we then, as a government, step in with the support structure that we have at NYSI, eventually SSI. In a nutshell, that's how we looked at supporting Max and being part of his journey as a partner.
We are very fortunate because quite early on in this serious undertaking of the pathway to Olympics, I think Singapore stepped in already to give him a scholarship.
I would say it got more serious when it came on the radar that this could be Olympic. So a bit more resources were coming to sport, a bit more interest, and then he said, oh, hey, actually the timing could be right, I could make it, and then it energized the whole effort, you see, that's true. In Singapore, they really accepted him and complimented they accepted his team, and they complimented what he needed from their fantastic platform that they have here.
Whichever country I was competing in, either Asia or Europe, when I was, 10, 11, right? I picked which one was convenient. but when it came time to say, hey, you have to choose one, you in your mind, it's something like, what do you want to eat for the rest of your life? Singapore chicken rice or Swiss cheese fondue? And the choice seemed pretty obvious to me at the time. And I mean, of course, obviously I felt somewhat of a Singaporean. I mean, I was born here, right? And I felt like a Singaporean, and I picked the nation. And all of the fortunate things that happened afterwards were I guess, fortunate, very much what they are. But I picked Singapore because I felt like it. I mean, we weren't thinking about support. We were just thinking about which nation to pick, right? Where do you feel more at home? Where do you feel more proud to represent? Or, what do you want to represent? We weren't thinking about what type of support we would receive or how well it would go. It's simply just about how I felt and what I wanted to compete for. As for, the support it takes, well, probably I knew more about it when I was at an amateur level, right? You have obviously double the food expense for me. You have the equipment, the traveling, of course, to the various competitions, but it has come into something that I don't know, even I don't know what it takes, right? I'm surrounded by such a wonderful and such an uplifting system that I get to focus so well on what I do, and it also means that I don't see much of what's going on in the background, which of course makes me very grateful because I understand how much it is. I mean, how I don't know how much it goes into the sports science support, to the administrative support, to having my coach around, all the travel. Like it comes to a point where I can't measure it clearly, right? In terms of all the little details that come together.
We never felt that anybody owes us anything or Singapore owes us anything because we enjoy our kid
to be where he is.
Sportsman, I mean, that was something which came to us offered. Nobody owes you anything. We felt when we were approached, hey Max, that's a great way to how do you say, join this platform, and maybe you can contribute and take more people along and show that you can be successful also in a slightly different way.
Yeah, I think Max also said it, right? It's like a little village, so then you have the community, and it's not just so alone. He has his team with him and he feels part of being a community, right? Because before that he was just really one person representing a team, representing a place, a country. Yes. Now he has a whole village.
I think what's important is the athlete is cocooned in a surrounding that allows him or her to focus on the sport. I think that's the most important for any athlete. And our job is to ensure that everything else that happens outside of that cocoon, we take care of. And to the extent possible, frees his mind, puts his focus on the sport, training, competing, and figure out for himself, which only he can do, how to get better. But everything else around it, we try our best to give him the best support.
That's 4 years away. I mean, even 6 months before the games, I was not planning for them specifically. My process is simply that one of a consistent effort in terms of what am I how am I improving? How can I change something to be better? And of course, there's a different level of preparation for the games. However, it's not something that drastically changes the entire training philosophy I have. I'm just happy to get back to training and competing and getting back to this process of incrementally improving.
So it's really important to take the lessons from what happened in Paris and apply that across the base of sport in Singapore. Not just in sailing, but across all of sport. Because now young people can see that there is a clear career path. There's a clear path to success in sports if we put our mind to it. And there's a lot that sport can do for this country.
I simply hope that I can make, just like Minister said, a very positive impact on sport generally. It really doesn't matter which one specifically you pick. The beauty and the values and the journey and the enjoyment and what you learn and the resiliency, all of that comes in a package with sport and competition, not with kitefoiling. And I'd be way more happy if a couple people joined sport and saw the value in it than if kitefoiling was suddenly very popular in Singapore. I think it's more about really having this shared journey and this appreciation of sport.